Hi there. My name is Arshad Haider. I'm an analyst here at Young and Partners. Today is September the 2nd, 2015, and we are going to do a video tutorial or a video guide, visual guide for Young and Partners quarterly trends analysis. So here you will see in front of you is currently just the desktop of the computer. You're going to go to My Computer or Computer. Under Network, you will see WDMY Cloud X2. You will click this open, and you will see a file labeled as Shared Drive. Once you click Shared Drive, you will see Z. You will open this file called Z. This is our Young and Partners uh, Young and Partners storage drive for all of our important files. It is alphabetized, so you will go to chemical trend data right here. Click it open, and you'll see many quarters here. So you'll open up you for the when you will be doing this trends analysis, you will want to create a new file using the same nomenclature and label it as the quarter you'll be working on. So the next quarter would be third quarter 2015. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to go through the previous quarter's files, which was labeled as second quarter 2015. So chemical trend data, second quarter 2015. I'm going to click this open. So once you open this file, you will see a number of files here labeled as bankruptcies, FactSet merger, financial critical mass, financing, M&A, presentations, SDC, stock price charts. And all of these will have meaning to you in a short while. To begin our analysis, we generally start with the stock price charts. So I'm going to click this file open, labeled the stock price charts, and here you will see Chem Indices LT pricing data 2Q 2015, Chem Indices ST pricing data 2Q 2015. That just means long-term and short-term data. So what that is for short-term data, we do a daily analysis for the quarter, for stock prices for the quarter. And for long-term pricing data, we look at the stock prices on a quarterly basis, so looking at the last day of each quarter. We generally start with the long-term pricing data, or LT. So I'm going to open up this file here. I'm going to click Enable Content. So to begin, when you are conducting this analysis in the new quarter, generally you will want to copy and paste this file into the new quarter's file. So you would take Chem Indices LT pricing data 2Q 2015, and you'd want to create a copy of this exact file and relabel it as Chem Indices LT pricing data, in this case 3Q 2015. To start this the analysis in this file, we will go to the second leftmost tab labeled as Indices. Here you will see two separate sets of lists here with dates, numbers, and percentages. These are the closing prices for the respective days labeled in columns B and G for the S&P 500 labeled as SPX, which is the capital IQ nomenclature, and the Stock 600 labeled as SXXP. You will want to go to the bottom of the data and enter in the last day of the previous of the quarter you are doing analysis on. So in this case, if the next quarter is 3Q 2015, we would enter 9/30, as in September 30th, 2015, into this first empty cell below the previous date. And you would do the same on both sides for the S&P 500 and the stock 600, and you will drag down the formulas that have already been used for the previous quarters. You can do a copy and paste function, or you can pull the lower right hand corner of the cell downward as follows. Now, this number here is not the actual number, since September 30, 2015 is in the future. But for example, I can use September 1st, as in yesterday, 2015, and it will pull up the closing price from yesterday. In column D, you will find the percentage. This is just a percentage showing the increase over time or the decrease of the S&P 500. So you will similarly pull this formula downward. You will do the same for the stock 600. This will be your starting point in this analysis. After you have pulled these dates, then you entered the new date and pulled these new numbers, you will go on to each of the tabs you'll see in front of you, which are labeled as U.S. Basic, U.S. Specialty, U.S. and Canadian Fertilizer, U.S. Diversified, European Basic, European Specialty, and European Diversified. And these are each of the Young & Partners chemical indices. We categorize them in as follows: as basic chemical companies, specialty, fertilizer, diversified chemical companies, and then same for European companies. So you will copy this date, September 1st, or in the future it would be September 30th, the last day of the quarter, and you will enter it in a similar position in the first empty cell for each company or each stock ticker. So we are in US Basic right now, and you'll see a number of companies: NYC, ARG, APD, CBT. These are all individual companies. So you will enter the date, and then from here you will want to pull down, copy and paste these formulas downward that have been used for the previous close dates, and to retrieve the new data for the corresponding date. You will do this for each cell as follows. So I'm copying the date across for all the relevant companies. And once you get to the right hand side of the stock tickers, you will see a series of numbers here with the top of the column labeled as LUB. These are the combined averages of the stocks within the US Basic Index. So you can copy down the formula, which is a simple summation of all of the individual stocks within this index, as follows. So it says 0 right now because I haven't pulled down all of the formulas yet. So you will pull down these formulas and respective data. And continue as follows. Just follow the similar path and go and copy downwards. You will do the same for U.S. Specialty, U.S. and Canadian Fertilizer, U.S. Diversified, and the European ones, and so forth. After to the right, you will see a gray tab labeled as MC. These and to the right of those, you will see U.S. Basic MC, U.S. Specialty MC, and these are the corresponding market caps for each of the stocks in the specific indices. So similarly here, you will enter the mechanism for all of these spreadsheets is pretty similar in the way they are laid out. You will enter the relevant date, and you will similarly pull down the formulas that are already built in into the spreadsheet. So the key here is just to check to make sure that the numbers aren't wildly different or very disparate from the previous close date. If it is, you should do some investigation and see what happened with the company and make sure the numbers are accurate. At the very right of these tabs within the market caps, you will also see a sum at the end, similar to what we saw in the stock index tabs here. You'll pull this data down, and this will, I made a mistake. You'll pull this data down, or the formula down, and it'll take a sum of all these companies. So remember, enter the date and pull down the formulas so it calculates the new market caps. These will be used to calculate the averages of the stocks and how the index has moved overall. After you've completed that for all of these indices, so basic, specialty, fertilizer, and so on and so forth, you will be finished with the Chem Indices long-term pricing data. From here, we go to Chem Indices short-term pricing data back into our share drive within the specific folder for our quarter. So Chem Indices short-term pricing data 2Q 2015. So I'm just taking a minute to open it up. So we have opened up the Chem Indices short-term pricing data 2Q 2015. So similarly, we are going to go to the second leftmost tab labeled as Indices. Now the only difference here between this Excel file and the long-term pricing data is here you will notice daily dates. So you'll see, for example, 129, 130, 131. So this is where we track the individual days within the quarter. So again, you will go, this time it's slightly different. You will go to the first empty cell below the most recent data. You are going to pull the data, pull the formula, which is labeled in cell K1. This is a specific CapIQ, S&P Capital IQ formula that directly pulls data from Capital IQ's database into Excel. So you will copy this formula, and this is the formula is written as a template here. So it says CIQ range, quotes ticker, IQ price date, quote start date, quote end date, and to finish, quote pricing date. So what you will do is you will take this formula, and I'm just going to demonstrate just because this can be a little bit tricky. You'll enter it in the first empty cell. You'll enter this formula, and then for where it says ticker, you're going to replace ticker with CapIQ's label for the S&P 500, which is this exponent mark SPX as labeled in cell A4. So SPX, and then for start date, you'll put the relevant start date for the quarter. So we can try whatever date, say July 1st, 2015, and end date, let's say yesterday, which would be September 1st, 2015, and you will click enter. So there's an error in my formula, and you will see after I clicked enter, you will see all of the trading days automatically pulled in by Capital IQ from July 1st to September 1st. So when you are doing this analysis, you will use the precise start and end date for the specific quarter you are doing analysis on. You are going to copy and paste these dates as well for the group on the right, which is the stock 600. So we're going to use the US dates for both indices. And once you do that, you can delete this, which says pricing date. I'll delete the row. And you will drag down the formulas for all of the new dates. And you'll see that the corresponding close prices for each of the days is automatically pulled in here, and a corresponding percentage increase. You will do the same for the stock 600. From here on out, you will take the days that you need for the quarter, copy them, and paste them in to each of the specific stocks within each specific index. So I'm just going to demonstrate a few, but it will be pretty self-explanatory once you open up each of these tabs. So as follows, 7.2, and then we will take the formulas built into the previous days and drag them downwards, or copy them downwards. And you'll see that all of the new data is pulled in for the corresponding dates, and you will do this for each of the stocks. This is in US Basic, but you will do the same for US Specialty and Fertilizer, Diversified, and so on. And you will notice a tab known as MC, which is market cap, similar to the short-term pricing data, and you will do the same for these specific tabs, except here we only go off of the last day of the quarter for market cap. So you'll notice this is similar to the short-term pricing data, but you will follow the template that has been used before and enter in the data, drag down the formulas, and you will get totals on the very right-hand side of each of these indices. Once you have finished all of this, pulled in the new data, you'll be finished with this portion of the trends analysis. The data you have collected here and assembled here will be used for charting purposes to provide a visual display for how the Young & Partners chemical indices and the general market indices such as S&P 500 do, or did, or performed actually. So from here we're going to go to the back to the share drive to our respective folder, and you'll see a file within the stock price charts folder where the short-term pricing data and the long-term pricing data is labeled as Y&P Chem Indices and PE Multiples Charts 2Q 2015, or whichever respective quarter you'll be working on. I'm going to open this up, and I'm just going to quickly show you how the data links to the long-term and short-term pricing data. So once we open this up, you will see, similar to a lot of this analysis, you'll see just a list of data and a list of dates, which reflects what you did in the long-term and short-term pricing data spreadsheets. You'll see many tabs here labeled as US ST indices charts as in short-term, long-term indices charts, European short-term indices charts, LTMP and PE ratios. Specifically draw your attention to the ones that are highlighted in green. These are the relevant ones at this time. Let's start with the long-term indices charts tab. We're going to click that. And again, you will see a list of numbers here in percentages actually. And at the top of each column, you'll notice a label. For example, long-term Y&P U.S. Basic Chemicals Index, specialty chemicals, fertilizers, diversified. So you'll notice that this corresponds to each of the indices where you pulled data for the long-term and short-term pricing. Again, you will enter the relevant date here, which would be the end of the next quarter. Exactly what you did in the pricing data spreadsheet. So at this time, I should also mention you should have both spreadsheets open because you'll be pulling data from the long-term pricing data into the Y&P Chem Indices and PE Multiples Charts file. Once you enter the date, whatever it may be, say 9/1/2015, or the next quarter would be 9/30. Each of these cells or columns corresponds to the index, to a specific index in the long-term pricing data. So if we look for long-term Y&P U.S. Basic Chemicals Index, we can look for at this 372% number for June 30th, 2015, and let's find it on the long-term pricing data spreadsheet. So we will go to the left here to US Basic _ LUB, and to the very right you will notice averages, and you will see 3.72. So this 372% comes directly from this number, 3.72, which is in cell BS77 for June 30th, 2015. So what you would do is take the new quarter's sum or average and copy the value, not the formula, but only the value, and paste it directly in as a value into this corresponding cell in this file, which is the long-term indices charts tab within the Y&P Chem Indices and PE Multiples Charts file. Use the similar formatting that is already here. So in this case, they are all percentages. So you will do the same thing for all of these specific indices. You'll also notice the S&P 500 index is here and the Stocks Europe 600 index. So for those, you are going to go back to the long-term pricing data and just go to the indices tab, where you will find the corresponding values for those indices for the specific date. And you will copy those values over and enter them in. To the right of all of these numbers, you will see charts. These are the charts that we actually use in our presentation. The data for these charts is to the left, which I just showed you. So you will notice when you click one of these, this is a chart that compares Y&P US Basic, Diversified, US Specialty Chemicals against the S&P 500. So if we click one of these chart data lines, we can see that it links to data here in amongst all of these numbers. You will see this highlighted box here. So when you enter the new quarter's data, you will drag down the box so that it captures the new and relevant data for the new quarter. Once you do that, the chart will automatically pull in or will use the new data that you have captured in the chart. That is pretty much it as far as getting these charts to work. I'll just quickly show you the short-term indices charts. So if we click on the short-term indices charts tab, again you will notice a series of numbers and dates. So these are the daily dates, as you well know by now from the short-term pricing data. And this corresponds to the Chem Indices short-term pricing data file, which you just worked on. So similar to the long-term pricing data, each of these columns here, you'll notice will correspond to one of the tabs or indices in the short-term pricing data file. So again, we'll just look at US Basic for demonstration purposes. So you're going to use daily dates here. So you'll take the daily dates, copy and paste them into the leftmost column here, and you will go back to the Chem Indices short-term pricing data chart and go to the corresponding tab, US Basic, go to the very far right. Oh, there it is. And you will take these totals here. You will copy and paste the corresponding value, the value that corresponds to the dates that you are looking at for your quarter. So a group of them, and you will copy them and paste them as values in the same format that they are already in, which is percentage. And you will do that for all of the respective days of the quarter. You will do the same for specialty chemicals, fertilizers, diversified, and the S&P 500. Now again, I'm going to zoom out here because we have a lot of data to try to find the chart. So here we can see the chart, so I'm going to zoom back in. And similar to what we did before, you're going to click on one of these data lines, and you'll notice to the left you will see the data being captured in purple and blue boxes. When you enter the new data below, you're just going to drag down these boxes so they capture the new data that you have just pasted in into the file. It's pretty straightforward from here. You just pull it down, pull down the dates, so your X and Y axes data are both covered, and you will click enter, and the chart will pull in the new data. And make sure you do that for each of the respective data lines, which capture each individual index: U.S. basic chemicals, specialty chemicals, fertilizers, diversified, and the S&P 500 here. After you're finished with this portion, you are going to go to the tab labeled as LTM-PE, which is also highlighted in green. Here you will notice again lists of data. You are going for this for these charts and this specific data, you will enter in the most recent quarter or year to date, or if you're starting a new year, as in, so say 2016, you would start a new row and label 2016 and make sure the old one would be labeled as 2015, which captures the entire year. You will pull down the formulas that are already linked within these cells downward, or copy and paste them for whichever quarter you're working on, and they will pull data from another tab labeled as PE ratios, which is just to the right of it. So you'll notice that these charts here compare, they're grouped, I believe, by nation or continent. So you have US specialty basic and diversified all compared against each other or grouped together against European specialty basic and diversified. when you click on the PE ratios tab, you'll see a fair amount of data, and you're going to start by labeling the most recent quarter at the very far right, because this is what all the formulas that are already built into this spreadsheet will pull data off of the date that you enter at the very top, which will be in row 3. In this case, our most recent data, we are in column X. And you will see a list of companies to the right for each of the specific indices. So, for example, European specialties, you have names like DSM, Novozymes, Syngenta, or Diversified, 3M, DuPont, Dow, and they are all listed. And the formulas are already built into these cells. So if you were starting a new column, you would just insert a new column in here and then copy the relevant formulas over. Here's some of your, you can use Excel, the F2 function to explore what is built into these cells. They will then, after you enter the new data at the top, they will then pull the relevant multiples for each of the companies, and at the bottom you'll have sums of each of or averages for each specific index. Below the data you will see charts, for example this one, and they pull the data directly. These charts pull data directly from, or are linked to data directly from above it. So you can click on each of the specific columns and make sure the most relevant and most recent data are being pulled in. I just drag that. You'll see some charts here that are not in use, but you will know which ones to work on based on the presentations, the previous presentations that have been assembled by other analysts. They will show exactly which charts are relevant, and you can match the corresponding ones in the Excel file, and yeah. So that is it for the stock price data and multiples after you've completed this part. And then you will move on to the financing data, quarterly data, and the M&A data. And within those, there are a fair amount of specific components that we will go through. So I'm going to close out, and I'm not going to save anything because any changes I made were just for demonstration purposes. But again, you would label this file as Y&P Chem Indices and PE Multiples Charts, your relevant quarter. So the next one would be 3Q, the relevant year, 2015. And you can put in parentheses the date that you were working on. That way you can keep track for yourself which is the most recent file you worked on, because you will work on this over a series of days and weeks. So close, don't save, and same with these.